Oh, hi. I forgot how cameras worked. Just kidding. I thought I'd watch you instead of you watching me. How about that? Good morning. Just having a little bit of fun. Hi. Had a couple of thoughts last couple of days. Um, First of which is or not I always, but I seem like I forget what I look like. And after a lifetime of, no, is after 47 years of not wanting to look in a mirror for not liking who I was or how I appeared. It's such a weird thing to look in a mirror now, and but I didn't know if anyone else had that experience where you you forget what you look like, or I don't know. I guess I have this mental image of my personality, and I'll go to the restroom or whatnot afterwards. And I'm like, oh yeah, you transitioned. You know. I wonder if there'll come a point when mentally my internal personality will catch up with my external person. I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't know if anyone else had that. Um, had something I wanted to share real quick. We talked the last video is a little bit about the Supreme Court and causality being what it is, not necessarily causality. Trying to remember. It wasn't Joseph Campbell. And it wasn't Carl Jung. I can't remember who it was, but they had an observation that when they were studying something, it seemed like whatever topic they were interested in, um, they seemed to notice that other people or other events around them were also, things that maybe they, it just seemed like it was very contemporary, and other things kind of fell into place that were along the lines of what they were thinking. And maybe that's just the way that our brains work. There's so much information in the world that when we're processing or we have something on our mind, we have our antenna focused on it, our radar is focused on it, and so maybe we begin to see things that correlate with what we're talking about. I think it might have been Carl Jung. But anyway, um, but I had the at work, and I'm not sure if I don't want to repeat what I did in the last video because I don't remember it, but I don't want to be, repetitive. But at my work on Friday, a little while ago, someone posted about, they were like, why is it in 2023 you're expected to tip your drive-through coffee shop person? And in other words, we have a place in where I live that opened up a couple weeks ago called Seven Brew, and you literally drive up. It reminds me of like a Rallies, maybe a backwards Rallies, but you get in the lane, left or right, and you in your car, and there's someone who comes up to you with like a little keyboard, um, iPad or tablet of some type, and they'll ask you for your coffee order. They'll put your information in by your phone number because they have a rewards program. After so many coffees, you get one free. And in a matter of a minute, by the time it takes your car to move 2 spots up to the front, where kind of the drive-in window would be if it was a Rallies, your coffee's there, you know, and then you get your coffee because you've already paid for it. electronically, with the other person with their tablet. If you don't, you can pre-set up a where it deducts money automatically off your card if you set it up that way, or you can swipe your card there, whatever. And so basically, in the time that it takes your car to move up 2 spots, which of course is dependent on how quickly they make their coffee, so it's not like it's, I would say less than 2 minutes, perhaps. Well, there's your coffee. And you say thank you, and you drive away. And the question that was on the post on my company, just our internal Facebook site, was when did this become a thing? And there were a number of people who were like, you know, it's incredulous, it's crazy. Why should you tip someone for doing their job? Why should you tip someone who basically is just handing you the drink? You order it electronically, um, much like a fast food restaurant. Do you, when you go to Burger King, do you tip the cook at Burger King? Think about it that way, I guess. Do you tip the cashier? No. You pay for it and you walk away. Um, the idea of a tip, I was told a tip stands for to ensure prompt service. A tip was a way of expressing your gratitude for the way you were treated. At least that's the way I was raised on getting a tip or giving a tip at a food thing, or you know, um, you do the same thing. I think when you get a haircut, someone provides a service for you. Um, but that mentality, when you think about it, why should I give you more money for something you should have done anyway? Yeah. Why should you tip your haircut stylist for giving you, you bought a service, you paid for a service, an item. Why would you tip somebody? You don't tip somebody at the grocery store, do you? You don't tip the cashier who ran the your items over the scanner, and what I've seen a big trend now is use self scans. My grocery store took out 5 or 6 lanes and installed, you know, uh, must be at least, I know it's at least goes up to 10 because I always go to register number 10, but 10 or 12 self scans in the width of 5 lanes. They could put 12, self scan units. And so basically you scan your own groceries now. But, when you're a cashier, you don't get tipped. So again, it's kind of an idea why should you tip somebody? Which probably could be a whole other discussion, but someone had said that, they really liked the idea of no tipping, and that the person who serves you or whatever gets paid. That's kind of the way that a business can pay their employees less, is assuming that they will get tipped. You know, in other words, there's a minimum wage for one set of workers, and then another minimum wage if you have tips. Okay. And she said, yeah, that way I would much rather to know they're going to get paid. And I said, that's really a neat idea. I'd also like to see everybody on a living wage. And, it seemed like within 20 minutes there was a comment accusing me of being a socialist, accusing me of not valuing America's values, and then over the course of the day yesterday, Friday, well, 2 days ago, a number of other people joined in, they joined Spartacus's crusade about how I was attacking American values and the, the spirit of working, and how it's, uh, poor people need to pull themselves out of poverty and, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And one woman even went so far as to say she felt like she was being more of a responsible person because she was making them be accountable. Okay. Now, would you care to guess the color of the skin of all the people that commented on my post in that way? If you guessed white, you're absolutely right. Um, I was curious. I started to keep a tab of it because I wanted to know for my own, you know, everyone who posted on my response accusing me of being anti-American. I was curious what their skin color was, and uh, as part of being part of the system, your photo, your a picture of you shows up. Okay, that you can't change. It's not like Facebook; you can pick your own picture. So I was able to, and I guess the pictures are all based off of your photo ID, what you use to get into the building. So it's a really good picture of the person. Okay, not like a driver's license, a really good photo. Um, yeah, they're all white, all the white people out of I couldn't tell you how many people work at my company. I know it's over 5,000 because we're not a small business, or 500 rather. Um, but you know, out of this huge company, it was only the white people that had a problem with what I called a living wage. And this one woman who made herself out to be so wonderful because she was encouraging, by her words, people to uh, grow and mature, and that some jobs are for people who aren't really good workers, and they deserve not to make enough money to live. And again, white people. What's the assumption of people that are working those type of jobs? Probably someone who isn't white. Um, but or undesirables maybe. Let's not put a color skin to it. But that mentality. What I wanted to reply back, and much to my credit, I did not, because if I replied back, it would start something that would end the post being, and maybe that's what needed to happen, was the administrator needed to step in and close the post down. But I'm trying to figure what I want to say next. I didn't want to be aggressive. I didn't want to be, I wanted to stand up for what I believed in, and I wanted to stand and kind of make a point, but I realized nothing I could do or say was going to change this woman's mind. And seeing as how uh, over the course of the day, only one or two people chimed in that I was right, or they thought I was right, or they thought the idea that a living wage was right. There were two people that came in, and they were by far, I'd say 5 times, the number of people who said, people don't deserve a living wage. Um, but the more I thought about it, I felt like what I wanted to say was, well, we definitely have a difference of opinion. I said, but it sounds to me like you found a way to justify your own hatred of other people and your own selfishness, and that you don't want to help other people out who might be less fortunate than you. I said, it sounds like you found a way to be guilt free of your own selfishness. That's kind of what I wanted to say, which again would only provoke a response of me attacking them. Uh, but it's just kind of a thought when I think about kind of what we talked about with the Supreme Court. You know, representation It's very important, the idea of representation. When when the nations of Europe gathered, I know we're switching topics somewhat. We could get back to the other, I promise. But when the European Union came together and they said, you know what, we need to band together. Um, we need a representative body that represents every country in Europe. Um, you know, on the council, they didn't sit there and go, okay, by population, you're going to get a vote. They gave each nation one person, much like the United States Senate. Um, every state gets two people. So much like the Supreme Court, if the Supreme Court is there to represent the people's interests in the United States of America, it needs to be representative of the people. In other words, you need to have, if it was a council of religions or things people believe, let's put it that way, you would need to have one person from each religion. That, it seems like in my lifetime, people have said something about, this law violates my religious views, or I'm not going to treat transgender people, very specific to this channel and you and me, I would assume. Um, you know, they're going to pass laws. You know, I should have the right not to make a cake for a transgender woman because it violates my religious views. If you're going to evaluate that on that criteria, then you need to have a group of people that are made up of different religious views. In other words, you need to have a Christian, you need to have a Muslim, you need to have a Jewish person, Hebrew. You need to have, uh, an atheist, maybe an agnostic. You need to have different religious perspectives. And then you would have a council of different religions. And it may be impossible to have, one person from every religion, that ever existed there. But, you know, if you could assemble 12 people, let's say, or an odd number, so there has to be a majority, 11, let's say, um, that would be the fair way to do it. That way, every religion is represented. If you look at the Supreme Court of the United States, every single justice is a Christian. When nominees come before the Congress, they're all Christian. The bulk of Congress is Christian. Um, every United States president that I know of has been Christian. Um, you know, uh, how can you expect fair representation? How can you expect the people that interpret a law to see its constitutionality? Yes, because the Constitution and says that no one religion will be the law put before others. But how can you expect people to uphold that if a tenet of Christianity is you'll have no other God before me? You'll have no, if someone is a Christian by the Bible, then based on past presidents, they would be killing everybody else. I mean, if you look at the Old Testament especially, Yahweh is God. Yahweh in the Old Testament was a very selfish prick. You know, Yahweh created life, didn't like what he saw, condemned the people that he made to suffer for the rest of their lives. At a later date, Yahweh didn't like what he saw, so he killed everybody off, except for two of every type of creature, except unicorns. Um, and, 6 or 7 people that were related with each other on a boat, in theory, you know, over the course of, you know, Yahweh didn't like this people. He'd say, kill them all. Okay? I mean, if that is your basis, how can you expect how can you expect anything else? And I guess that's part of I guess that's kind of the beef that I have right now. You know, how can we expect fair representation if we're not represented? And in the case of the, you know, livable wage question, if all you ask are people that benefited from the system, you're not really being fair to the people that are not being represented. In other words, you need to ask the people that are making the minimum wage what they think. You need to get their input. So anyway, I know she's in the bathroom. I'm going to turn off the video. I don't want to, without her knowledge, I don't want to put her in there. So anyway, some food for thought as we kind of move forward. You know, you can't have a discussion without including everybody, especially the people that it impacts, right? Um, and that's it. So I'm going to shut this off again. I don't want to. Till next time. Bye.